Did you know that there is a knight whose very existence was kept an absolute secret by the Grot Foundation? That's because he has a direct blood connection to the man who changed the fate of Seiya and his friends, and he was also trained by the most feared gold saint of all time. I'm talking about May, the disciple of Cancer Death Mask. Hello, knights and amazons. Welcome to the Semperquist Saber channel. I'm Wes. Today we'll discuss the potential role of Knight May of Coma Berenices in the Heaven Saga. Were you already familiar with this character? Let me know in the comments, and of course, click like, subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and let's uncover all the mysteries about May of Coma Berenices in this awesome video.
Sempre quis saber.
Many fans know Mitsumasa Kido only as the eccentric magnate who gathered the orphans to become knights. But actually, the story is much deeper and darker. Mitsumasa wasn't just a businessman. He was a man who knew the secrets of the sanctuary thanks to Iolos of Sagittarius. And in the midst of this double life full of intrigue, he had a legitimate son named May. As we know from the manga's story, Seiya, Shiryu, Hyoga, Shun, Jabu, and the others were all illegitimate children of Mitsumasa Kido, and they only find this out after the old man's death. However, there was a boy named May who was his only fully recognized son. He appears in the novel Saint Seiya Gigantomachia. Unlike Seiya, Shiryu, or Hyoga, who were sent to train under brutal conditions as part of a bigger plan, May grew up in the shadow of his father's decisions. While the world saw the Grot Foundation as a financial empire, May saw what happened behind the scenes. He grew up knowing that although the world was beautiful, it was protected by people who bled in silence. The relationship between him and Mitsumasa was complex, marked by forced distance. Mitsumasa knew that May's destiny needed to be different, but no less dangerous. And this is where the plot takes an interesting turn. Mad chose for himself to become a saint, unlike his half-brothers. The most interesting thing about all this is that he ends up being trained by a gold saint. Yes, my friends, May's master could not be anyone else. His name is Death Mask of Cancer. Yes, the one that many considered the cruelest of the gold saints. And when we analyze the relationship between these two, we realize that it wasn't a friendship, but rather harsh training meant to forge a powerful saint. Death Mask, with his control over the waves of the underworld and his ability to move between the world of the living and the dead, taught May to believe in justice through brute strength. He taught that mercy is a luxury that those who protect Athena cannot afford. This strict upbringing shaped May in a way that no other saint was shaped. While the Bronze Saints learned about friendship and the power of shared cosmo, May learned to fight alone, to face the abyss, and not to blink. The Coma Berenices cloth, or Berenices hair that May wears, is not an ordinary armor. It carries a peculiar mysticism linked to sacrifice and loss. It is one of the few armors that does not strictly belong to the already known ranks, such as bronze, silver, or gold. This gives May a versatility and autonomy that bronze saints often do not have. The book Saint Seiya Gigantomachia tells the story of the battle against the Gigas, who are giants that had been sealed since the mythological era. This is where we learn May's story. He began his training in Sicily at the foot of Mount Athena under the tutelage of the Gold Saint Death Mask of Cancer. After the conflict of the 12 houses, May returns knowing that his master had died and ends up discovering that all the orphans sent to become saints are actually children of Mitsumasa Kido by different women. In the meantime, the Gigantomachia breaks out and May finally receives the Berenices' hair armor. At the end of the saga, May sacrifices himself so that the Gigantomachia can come to an end, becoming imprisoned together with Chiffon, the most powerful of the Gigas, inside Mount Athena, where time does not pass. Although this book is the official material of Knights of the Zodiac, it is not part of the manga canon. However, the events of the Zeus saga give us the possibility for May to be made canon by Kurumada and added to the Heaven saga. As you may already know, in the first chapters of the Heaven saga, the characters are going through a critical moment. After the terrible war against the gods, the world is devastated. Seiya and the other Bronze Knights were left in a state of amnesia, living in the village of Rodorios without their memories, deprived of that intense flame that used to burn when Athena was in danger. The sanctuary is silent. The 12 houses, which were once guarded by the Gold Knights, are now completely empty and the world is without their protection. It is in this power vacuum, in this silence, that the threat of the skeleton specters rises. The basic infantry of the underworld is being resurrected for a new divine assault against Earth. They are like locusts, emerging from the darkness and hunting Athena down, just when she is without her powers and memories. As we know, this is the plan of the goddess Ker, a servant of Hades who awakened in the Heavens Saga and wants to eliminate the last traces of Athena and her knights in order to take over the earth. With that, in Chapter 1 of the Heavens Saga, Ker awakened a specter called Anti-Ortros, who represents the dog star, with Ortros being the two-headed dog, brother of Cerberus. And guys, this is where the story starts to make a connection with the book Gigantomachia. In this book, we have a passage where Hyoga of Cygnus fought against Ortros, who was one of the Gigas representing the two-headed dog. Initially, he had the advantage with long-range attacks, fired in the dark through the shoulder guards of his Gigas armor. But after Hyoga managed to nullify this attack with the Calixto, Ortros was defeated by his Aurora execution. As we can see, both Ortros of the Gigas and Ortros of Hades represent the same being. And with this point in common, there's a chance that Kurumada will reuse other elements from the story of the Gigantomachia in the Heavens Saga. And the best element to use now is Saint May of Coma Berenices. That's because he will be able to protect the goddess Athena from the skeleton specters who are advancing to kill her. This is where May of Coma Berenices enters the story. Our theory suggests that May has been observing since the end of the battle against the specters, coming to the conclusion that Athena's fate was intertwined with that of his own lineage. He is not a knight who seeks glory. He is the son who never had the chance to say goodbye to his father, Mitsumasa Kido, but who inherited his mission to protect Saori. When the skeleton specters advance, believing that Athena is defenseless, they encounter a wall. May appears with a first barrier. Wearing the Coma Berenices armor, he invokes the legacy of the Cosmo that he learned from his master, Death Mask. But he doesn't use the waves of hell. May's style is more technical, more calculating. He uses his armor, which has unique properties, to create a net with hair strands that cut through anything, preventing the specters from passing. May has two abilities, one of them being the Threads of Death, where, with simple movements that go unnoticed by the opponent, May spreads orichalcum threads as thin as a hair throughout the arena. Each of them is as sharp as a blade, infused with his Cosmo and controlled by slight twists of the wrist. And the Lost Children attack, which is probably a reference to the orphans sent for night training. With this technique, he cuts Pallas into 5 pieces. May unleashes this technique through a punch or a blue beam. It is also able to split the opponent's nervous system into 5 parts, completely throwing them off balance, and it can also cause physical damage, just like what happened with Pallas. The symbolism here is powerful. The son of Mitsumasa Kido, the man who raised Athena as his granddaughter, and is responsible for Seiya and the others becoming bronze saints, has now also become the protector of the goddess Athena. May is doing exactly what his father did in the past, making sure that behind the scenes, justice prevails against the forces of evil. In this theory, May didn't replace the bronze saints, he allows them to live. By holding back the skeleton specter horde, he gives time for Athena's Cosmo to regenerate, for the bronze saints to regain their senses, and for the fate of the world to be rewritten. He is the guardian who was not prophesied, but who was necessary for this story. The Heaven Saga deals with the relationship between gods and men, with what happens when divine pride clashes with human determination. May of Coma Berenices is the perfect representation of this clash. He is not chosen by the gods, he is the product of human will. His presence on the front lines brings a more serious tone to the narrative. While the Bronze Saints fight for ideals and friendships, May fights for duty and for a blood debt. This dynamic creates an incredible tension. The Coma Berenices armor, with its unique design and history, gives him amazing abilities. But besides the skeleton specters, could he handle the other enemies on his own? Share your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching until the end. See you next time. Burn your Cosmo to infinity.